Curtis, I don't know if we're going to get this, buddy. I feel angry. I feel helpless. Why when I do these, does it always look like I have a lazy eye? Hi, Nate. You're going to be on, buddy. You're going to be on my show. Nate, can you join in? I don't know how to do this. 1, oh, 1, the only way is 1. I feel angry, I feel helpless. Woo-hoo. Nobody knows it, nobody knows. When I was out, ooh, nobody knows it, nobody knows. Where's my brother Nate? Let's see if I can get Nate on here. Nate, I think we're going to take over the show. Ah, yes, we can and we will, my friend. I like what you have to say. And we are going to combine forces. You are absolutely invited into the Avengers. Oh, okay, here comes Jim, I think.
Well, holy shit, look at that.
We're on. All right. Good. Did you get to hear?
I don't know what the deal was. I was turning my phone just round and round like an idiot. Nothing was happening.
No, it's all right, man. Did you get to hear the compliments I said about you?
Yeah, I can hear you, and I appreciate it. I really do. I didn't hear all of it. Like, I heard you talking about, coming together. We need to be in a place politically where, regardless of whether or not we agree, we can agree to work together. And that, I fully believe that. I do think that sometimes it reaches a point where you can't, but those issues, I think, come down to moral ones, not political ones. And that's a different discussion. That's a whole different discussion. Those two things don't have to be intertwined, despite the fact that, basically every politician tries to convince us that they are, both left and right. We don't say that we disagree, we say that we are the true patriots and they are trying to destroy our very way of life.
Yeah.
And that's both sides. And hugely unhelpful.
Yeah, this whole time I've been kind of almost being told, and nobody's fault, by the way, but I'm just saying this was kind of almost touted as like debate. And and the whole time I'm like, I don't necessarily know if I want to debate anybody. I'll have a conversation with somebody, or like even like entering enemy territory. I'm like, I don't think it's like that, because like, especially everybody that I know that's on it, we're all cool. Like, there's no anger, there's no debate, there's no fighting. I'm cool. I think you're a good guy.
It doesn't have to be adversarial.
Yeah.
And by and large, it is politically anymore. It's all adversarial. It just goes back to, like I'm saying, we are the true patriots. They are ruining everything.
Yeah. And
that's not, that's just not how it's gonna. It's not gonna work.
No.
Hello.
And this might be the the fastest debate ever, because I don't know. I'm so far I haven't disagreed with the word you said. I don't think.
So I watched a couple episodes of your YouTube show. Pretty good.
Thank you. See, we agree on everything.
I wanted to know what I was getting into with this enemy territory business. But like I told Curtis, I don't believe that if we talked about the issues, and we avoided the buzzwords that tend to upset either side. You know,
Mhm.
I've found in my experience that most people agree what the problems are, and if we agree what the problems are, then don't do anything to address them, because we allow ourselves to stay riled up at each other over culture war ideas. You know, these ideas that have always existed in this country. Um, we don't fix anything.
Mm-hmm.
We don't fix. We stay angry about the wrong things, and no progress has been made. And I think largely the Republicans and the Democrats both benefit from that system not being fixed, because it ensures their wallets get fat, and we keep going to work and electing the same terrible people we've been electing over and over and over again. And the material conditions of the working class people don't change, or they get worse. And this is not acceptable to me. You know, there's got to be a better way of doing things.
No, okay. You know, my daughter just sat in here. This is Jim, and this is my daughter Madeline. And this might be a good lesson for her. She just turned 9. But Madeline, I know you don't understand politics, but let's just say, as an example, to simplify it, Jim and I have different political beliefs, but yet we are coming together, and we're both really cool with each other. Like, I like Jim, and it doesn't have to be constant fighting. People can get along no matter what. That's the point. That's the moral. Now go on and beat it.
Brad said there's no enemies anymore besides those that would tell us we are enemies, and I buy it.
Yeah, I know Curtis just hopped on a minute ago, and Curtis, literally, there's no debate here. I agree. So far, I haven't found one thing I don't recall anyway. Anything I disagree
with. I'm sure if we keep digging, we'll find something we don't agree with.
Yeah, we'll find something, but I think the bottom line and the point being is, again, I just met you, but from what I know of you, you seem like a very level-headed, really cool guy. And I think even if we found something we disagreed on, it wouldn't be like, you're an idiot because you said that. I think it'd be like, well, you feel that way, I feel this way. We're still cool with each other. All good, you know?
I'm going to show it. My daddy asked a girl to dance with me.
Yeah, that was me at 4 years old asking a chick to dance. Loving the ladies even at 4.
Yeah.
You gotta go. But yeah, I don't know, like, Curtis, do you have anything you want to add in the comments? Because, I mean, there's literally no debate here. I like Jim. I love you more.
Well, you know, talking to Curtis, let me see. Yeah, no, Curtis always framed it to me as a conversation.
Good.
You know, I kind of made it clear to him that I'm not largely interested in debate. I don't think, like you and I'm sure could pick an issue, and an issue we disagree on, and we could get as heated as we want to get, but the reality of it is you're not going to walk away from that having changed your mind. I'm not going to walk away from it having changed my mind. So
right.
Isn't it better to find the compromise?
Yeah.
You know, debate, there's, especially in like leftist circles, not so much liberal Democrat circles, you know, but actual left, like the real left. There's this debate bro sort of toxic culture that exists there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I want to score points off of you, and there's some of that on the right as well. Curtis mentioned Ben Shapiro and being a big fan of Ben Shapiro, and I believe that, I mean, that's Ben Shapiro makes his living doing that, you know. He makes his living. Just go to YouTube, just type in Ben Shapiro dunks on, and tell me how many results you get, you know. And so, like, that's appealing in some ways because everybody likes to be right, you know. everybody likes to be right. And I've been around a long time, man. I've lived long enough to understand that regardless of how you've lived your life, you're the villain in somebody's story.
Oh yeah.
There's somebody out there that no matter what you say, they don't like you. You know, they're not gonna like you. And what value is there in being right other than that sense of self-satisfaction? You know, they're like, oh, I just went onto this show, or I just spoke to this person and made them look absolutely foolish because I'm such a big brain smarty. And that's great, except somebody that you could have found common ground with and maybe worked with now is going to be opposed to anything you say. It's not helpful. It's not helpful. And I think so much of the media we consume is determined to keep us doing it. And we can keep doing it. We can keep doing it for the rest of our lives, and nothing will change. We'll be here in 40 or 100 years doing it. Our kids will be doing it, and fundamentally nothing will change. And you have a daughter. I have 2 sons. I have an adult special needs son. He's 23. Developmentally, he's about 5. You know, he's my forever baby. He's gonna be hanging out with Dad on the couch, having conversations till we both have long white beards. My younger son will be 18 next month, senior in high school, and the world that they will have to exist in when I'm gone, if I don't do whatever I can do to make that a better place, I'm not gonna feel okay. I'm not gonna feel okay, and not just for them, but for everybody. You know, like I told Curtis, I'm real far left. You know, I am I'm the left that Fox News warns you about. It's true. But I'm pretty open about talking about that. You know, what it is that the leftists I know, and again, by leftists I don't mean Democrats, because Democrats and Republicans, you know, they serve the same bosses, and I can't really be convinced otherwise. To take
Let me
a
ask
quick
you this.
example.
Oh, go ahead.
Take a quick example. When Barack Obama passes the Affordable Care Act, the Republicans rail against it. But when Mitt Romney develops the Affordable Care Act, it's hailed as a great Republican idea. Now, it can't be both. You know, it just can't be both. So which is it? Like, it can't be a good idea if Romney has it, and a bad idea if Obama has it, and then the Democrats do exactly the same thing. Because Obama says it, it's good, but if Romney says it, it's bad?
Yeah,
it
that's
can't
true.
be both.
Right. Well, it's kind of like, I'll give you another example, playing from the other side as an example. If, like, AOC cried at the border when Trump was in office, and I say cry loosely, but now the situation's worse, she's nowhere to be found. It's like, do you really care about the people? Or are you just going there to, I don't know, make yourself look good, like a public display, you know?
Oh, I mean, it's all performative. It's all
right.
performative on both
right.
sides. And that's not okay. I mean, like, to be completely upfront, I didn't like Trump when he was president. I didn't like Trump when he was on The Apprentice, and I don't like him now. He's not the kind of guy that I get along with. It's just not. Having said that, neither is Joe Biden.
Right.
You know, neither one of those guys, neither one of the options I had, do I believe cares about what my family and I have to go through to make it to the end of the month. You know, I don't care what they say. I don't believe it. They certainly haven't shown it. And that's just not okay. You know, it's not okay. Anyway, you were gonna say, I think I interrupted something before that.
No, you didn't interrupt anything. You didn't interrupt anything. I guess let's just try to see if we can find one subject where maybe we possibly have a different point of view. But again,
sure.
Let's show everyone how we can come. I guess. Well, I have two questions. Number one, you said you're far left. What makes you define far left? Like, what makes you far left? I guess.
If I was going to define my political ideology, I would say I'm an anarcho-communist, which is so far outside the Overton window in the United States that it's not even allowable political discussion. You know, ideally for me, everyone, regardless of who they are or why, would have their basic needs met. And we would operate on the principle of from each according to their ability to each according to their need. And that would be the dream. Now, the dream, you know, we're so far away from that, we can't even see it from here. In the United States, politically speaking, the left, as has any power, the Democratic Party, looked at on a global scale, they would be center-right in any other democracy in the world. We don't have a Labor Party. We don't have any party that claims to represent the interests of the working class. Now, we have two parties that say they represent the interests of the working class while voting to increase corporate profits at the expense of working people. Both of them. Just both of them. The name on the check might change, but it's not us. You know, it's certainly not us. My parents, both working class conservatives. You know, Dad drives a truck, Mom was a secretary for decades. Wonderful people, hardworking people, all right? And the fact that the tax burden for supporting people who don't get a living wage, let's say Walmart employees, all right? Let's talk about Walmart for a second. So Walmart has the largest number of full-time employees drawing government assistance in this country. All right? Because they're not being paid enough. Now, you could say that those people need to go get a better job, don't work at Walmart, right? But somebody needs to work at Walmart. And the fact that Walmart employees, their living is subsidized by middle-class taxpayers. Let's be clear, not rich taxpayers, because they're hiding their money offshore, or they're hiring lawyers to lower their tax burden to $0. The people who are getting squeezed are people like my parents, perhaps people like you. You're getting squeezed, and you're getting squeezed to take care of people who, for whatever reason, can't take care of themselves, right? Now, you got a couple options there. You can be mad at the people who can't take care of themselves, or you can be mad at the employer that dictates terms that ensure these people can't make a living wage. Now, Walmart is a bigger drain on your tax dollars than any Walmart employee is ever going to be, you know? More of your tax money subsidizes JP Morgan Chase bailouts than any amount of single moms on food stamps. So where you direct that anger, I mean, people have different ideas about it, but I don't think it should be directed down. I don't think anger directed down is helpful. You can be mad at people who don't have anything all you want, but they don't have anything. They don't have any power to affect change. And the people who do aren't. Because if they do, they're not going to make as much money. You know? And we're not talking about an extra 10K a year. You know? We're talking billions. Billions. Like uncountable, unbelievable sums of money. And it's just seems silly to me, you know? I see a lot more anger at single moms on food stamps than I see at Walmart for not making only, say, $5 billion in profit this year because they paid their employees enough to get off government assistance. And that seems like...
Let me ask you this, because this seems to be a hot topic, really big right now, and it's one that I'm all over. What are your thoughts on critical race theory?
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
Okay, so critical race theory, from my understanding, has been taught for years at the college level. It's not a new thing by any stretch of the imagination. Now, should we teach it to kindergartners, first graders? I don't know. They can't really understand an issue that complex at that age. Should we lie to them? No more than necessary. You know, I haven't really seen a discussion about critical race theory that addresses the fact that this is a subject being taught in colleges. And the simple fact of the matter is, the story we're told in high school about the founding of this country, both know it's not really true. You know, I went to high school in the South, so let me tell you how hard we got the Lost Cause myth taught to us. You know, I believe that the founding of this country and the things that it did in the past should honestly be examined and talked about. I don't like the idea of American exceptionalism, because going around believing that we are the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, means we don't ever need to improve or change. And that means not growing. You know, that it just means you're not growing. We as a nation we've got a weird pride, and I'm not, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that America has never done anything good. We clearly have. But we've done a lot wrong too. And to pretend that we haven't, and to take any sort of criticism as hatred is, I mean, that's just blind obedience, you know?
See, I look at
country, right or wrong, you're getting a little German 1930s there, you know? We should look at what we've done and say, no, we can't do that anymore. We can't. It's not acceptable. But again, that folds back into the whole culture war thing, you know, keeping us angry about things that, you know, I don't think anybody's trying to teach critical race theory in 4th grade. I don't think it's happening. I haven't seen it. You know, I've seen a lot of people insist that that's what's happening. Sort of like sex ed, you know, sex ed gets talked about in schools, and immediately half the people say, well, I don't want you talking to my 3rd grader about condoms. There's nobody talking to your 3rd grader about condoms. Nobody wants to do that. They're in 3rd grade. That's not the time. you know. But like up in high school, should you maybe? Yeah, because we know, man. Come on, Scott. We know what we did in high school, right?
I know what I tried to do, but I didn't have any luck.
Okay, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
right?
I got my hand pregnant.
So having a little bit of scientific information about the pros, cons, and what you should and should not do if you want to avoid having a baby before you get your diploma, that ain't gonna hurt nobody. Let's do it.
Well, here's why I don't like critical race theories, because it definitely has the narrative of, and just surface level, generally speaking, narrative of white people bad. And in fact, Nate happens to be a black conservative. He actually said that, and I agree with that. And all people of color are oppressed for some reason. And then when you got people like Oprah, LeBron James, Barack Obama, you know, they preach a message constantly. Like Spike Lee, recently he said black people are being hunted in the streets. Now I work in Chicago. I see a lot of black people. I don't see anybody running from the cops, being shot, being hunted. I just don't see it. So these narratives, now this is the narratives they go with to keep themselves relevant. And I think, again, we're all supposed to be coming together. It's 2021. For us to constantly beating a drum of, especially again, when you got Barack Obama, when you got Oprah, when you got LeBron James talking about we're oppressed. How did you make it then? Like, instead of talking oppression, why don't we talk about those black leaders, those black people who are billionaires, millionaires? Instead of saying you're oppressed, you're never going to succeed, you're a victim, people are chasing you, why don't they say, I did it, you can do it too. Work hard. A narrative that supports work hard to create success. But that is really,
you're bouncing around on me right now. Yeah, like is it caught up? I lost you for a hot second. You were just
oh, okay.
Like I got the gist of your point.
Okay.
Now, two white dudes having this discussion is, you know, who's gonna listen?
Well, I do got a black dude, we got a black guy in the comments, and he is saying this.
Well, that's great.
He's
that's
coming.
Great. We should probably listen to him about it. I think, like, I agree with you. We do need to come together, right? And regardless of how, like when you hear something and you don't agree with it, right? You hear that people being hunted in the streets. Let's take that as an example. All right.
Yeah.
You've got two ways to deal with that. You can take that information in and cast it aside and be like, that's not my experience. I don't see that. So that's not what's happening, right? Or you can do what we're doing right now, and you can talk to them and find out why they feel that way. Because like we don't live that experience. Like I can't tell you what it's like to be black in America. I can tell you what it's like to be a Southerner. I can tell you what it's like to be poor. You know, I can tell you
where's
what
your white
it's
privilege?
Like. Huh?
White privilege.
Now, I do have some privilege. I absolutely do have some privilege. I have never. I'll put it to you this way: I've been pulled over quite a few times and didn't spend the night in jail, and probably should have. I have friends who've been pulled over and shouldn't have, but did. Now you can say that's because of whatever, you know. You can put that at what I understand what's being said when white privilege is talked about. You know, I do believe it exists. I think that the fact that when people hear the word privilege, they get a certain idea of what that means, and that isn't really what's being communicated. Do you play video games?
No,
Scott?
not really. I mean,
No.
Donkey Kong, Pac-Man.
You ever played Mario
back in the
Kart?
day? I have, yeah, I have.
Okay, all right. So I have an analogy for this. You just stick with me here. We're going to talk about the Mario Kart analogy of privilege. All right?
All right.
I play a lot of Mario Kart. All right? I've got the game, and I invite you over to play. Now, it's my game. It's my system. I'm going to give you the controller that isn't quite as good. It still works. It still works, but it's not quite as responsive. You know, it's the player 2 controller. My system, my control. I get the good controller. You know, you can have the player 2 controller, and we're racing the same race. We have the same kart. All right, but I have been playing this game forever. I know all the shortcuts. I know how to best use the items. I know the ins and outs of this whole game, all right? You don't. We're playing the same game. We have the same base ability to win the race, right? I have an advantage that has nothing to do with the game itself, because it's my Mario Kart Pro. You know, you just don't have. I've got a leg. It's not going to help me win the race as far as the speed, you know, or the skill with which we drive. I just have a little bit more experience with this situation, you know, or in this case, a lot.
All right. If that were me, though, and I had that same scenario, that's almost like saying, because my daughter's white, she's got it better than Will Smith's kids.
No.
Where the privilege, it's a lot like that. And I would look at it as, I got to work harder then. I got to bust my ass to beat you at the game. Or I got to go get my own controller, bring my own controller to your game, and I'm going to win. Like, eventually, I'll work hard enough to beat you. Or
will you? Because while you're going to work to get that new controller and to get the system and to get the game, I'm just going to be here playing.
Yeah, but I work.
And I will be waiting. You know? And I hope you come on over and you whip my ass. Absolutely. You know? But it's going to take a long time. Now, as for your previous thing, your daughter and Will Smith's daughter, right?
Yeah, right.
Will Smith's daughter has wealth, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And wealth is the great equalizer, because it doesn't matter what color you are if you've got enough money. Nothing else matters if you've got enough money. And the Smiths have a lot more money than any of us, you know?
Right.
So they're operating in a different class. Like that falls more into like class consciousness and class privilege, which I think most people understand that one. When somebody says white privilege, what is meant, from my understanding, is that it's not to say you didn't struggle. It's not to say that your life wasn't difficult. Because as a poor white man in the South, bro, my life has been pretty difficult. All right? But my life has never been made more difficult because I'm the wrong color. You know? My race or gender has never been a factor in my troubles. My bad decisions have.
There you go.
You know?
That's what I was looking for. Decisions. Let me ask you this, though, too, Jim. In America, Asians succeed more than anyone else. Asians make more money than, yes, even white people. Education, family, they're beating everybody. why is it just known as white privilege when if we're using those as scenarios?
Are Asians
those,
not white?
No, they're Asian.
Why aren't they white?
Why aren't they white?
Yeah.
Biologically speaking, you mean? I don't understand what you mean.
I mean, it's an honest question.
Why
Asians
aren't they white?
But like, okay. This goes into another one of my pet issues. Like, who are white people?
Me, you, Caucasian. I don't know. I don't exactly know what you mean.
I mean, here's a fun fact. Caucasian, the word Caucasian came from a discredited 18th century race scientist. He had a skull. And you can Google this. He had a skull. And he believed the skull came from the perfect woman. He really wanted to hook up with this skull. And he found it in the Caucasus Mountains. And he held it up as the perfect example of what humanity, the most beautiful woman of all time. It was just her skull. And hence, Caucasian entered the lexicon. Neither of us are from the Caucasus Mountains. The Caucasus Mountains are in Asia, right?
You know it.
I'm not. Neither of those words describes me. Where's your family from?
Tennessee.
You know? Like somewhere over in Europe before they came over here. If you told an Englishman and a Frenchman that they were the same, in the middle of them fighting and killing each other over which one of them was better, you think they'd agree?
No disrespect, but I'm not getting the point. I guess what I'm saying is it should be, if we're going to look at it money-wise, income levels, education, it should be known as Asian privilege, but it's not. It's known as white privilege in this country, when even whitey isn't at the top. Asians are. So that's what I kind of...
You say that, but how many Asian billionaires can you think of?
I don't know. I don't know
the
answer to that.
Can you think of?
Honestly, I don't know. 4, 5, 6. I don't know.
Okay, all right. How many Asian politicians can you think of?
Yang.
Yang, right? He's a 2-time loser now. There's a pretty solid talking point about Asians and the grades and the performance. But you don't have to go back very far in our history at all to discover that literally the first immigrants that we were real pissy towards were Asians. We brought a lot of Chinese over here to die building our railroads, like a lot of them. The first country that we banned from sending immigrants to our country was China, the Chinese Exclusion Act. World War II, we locked up anybody that even looked vaguely Asian. And as to why, they have succeeded or seem to have succeeded on such a high level, it's a pretty popular, pretty popular point. They're real big on generational wealth. And opening up a business and passing that business on to the kids and working themselves to death. Like, I had a couple of Asian friends, and those dudes hated going home because their parents were just the worst to them. I'm sure you've heard the jokes, like, why aren't you a doctor? Why do you have a beat? There's something there, and what that comes from could be debated. I mean, if you were in a country that not 80 years ago locked you up because you might be the enemy, took your house because you might be the enemy, you might feel like you needed to really put your nose to the grindstone. I don't know. I'm not an Asian. I can't speak for what their experience is. you know? But they're a tiny segment of the population. They're a tiny segment of the population, and we talk about their privilege, but again, name an Asian politician or an Asian billionaire. And if they're that much better at these things, why aren't they in charge and running things?
Well, maybe they're just not interested in politics, generally speaking. I don't know, but they are. If you look at income levels and education, Asians are kicking everybody's ass, but we don't look at it as like Asian privilege. I look at it as they believe in family and education more than even white people. And that's why they're succeeding more on those levels. I think it's a lot of times it's easy just to say, listen, we're at a point in history where God, I could talk all night, but unfortunately I'm on a very tight time schedule. I got to go in a minute.
No worries, man.
It's just, we got to get to a point. And I'm not saying that we're all starting at the same starting,
Right.
We're not. I know we're not. But that goes all over the place. Kind of like I said with Will Smith's kids. He's obviously, his kids have definitely got it better than my child. So to just surface level, I always find it weird, the victim mentality from the Oprahs, from the Obamas. And then I also don't understand the woke white people that get in line and like they're so ashamed by what we did in the past, when I'm always like, listen, I've said this for years. If you have a great uncle that raped somebody, that's like saying you should go to jail for it. And then you'd be like, why should I go to jail? I didn't do it. Like, I don't support slavery. I don't support racism. And by the way, I will say this very strongly with much conviction. You, me, and probably everybody listening, I don't have time to be holding people back. There's this narrative that like white people are holding black people down. And I'm like, I'm just trying to get by. I don't have time to hold anybody down. I'm going to work. Yeah. I'm raising my daughter. I'm doing what I need to do. So I just think a lot of people, not everyone, and again, I get it. We're not all starting at the same, we're not. But it's almost like if I went to Japan and I said, look there's no white people are represented here. I turn on the TV, I see nothing but Japanese people. I see, well, there's more Japanese people there. So of course,
Japan's
there's going to be
traditionally xenophobic nation. They don't want you.
Right. But yet nobody would really look at Japan and say they're racist. And you, like you just said, they're xenophobic. But it's not a known narrative. It's not like no one really talks about it. America is supposed to be the most racist country. That's the narrative that's going around now. People kneeling and disrespecting the flag and the national anthem. I can't get on board with that kind of thing.
Japan doesn't have a big statue in the harbor that proclaims themselves to be the big melting pot where everybody can come. You're poor, you're sick, you're weary. That's not Japan's thing. That's ours. So, like, if that's our narrative, of course we are going to get more scrutiny on that subject. Of course we are. Because we spend all our time telling everybody that that's what we do. So when we fail to live up to that, then we look like hypocrites. And as far as like not holding anybody back, I understand that because I'm not doing that either. Who's really doing it is the politicians and the corporations. And if you look at those numbers, who are they run by? Who are they run by? Now that's not on you. That's not on you. You're not them.
Right.
I'm not them. All right?
Right.
And I agree with you there. But we need to really think about how we present that too. Because on the one hand, something I hear from conservatives here a lot, is slavery was a long time, get over it, but also don't tear down my Confederate monument. And seems like there's a disconnect there. You can't say we beat the Germans in World War II, but also, you weren't there, it wasn't you.
Exactly.
But also, I'm not responsible for what my grandpa did. That's true. I agree with that. But then that message is muddied when we take pride and tout accomplishments we didn't make as ours. We want them to be ours if they're good, and we want to distance ourselves from them if they're bad. And that would be confusing. If you were talking to your kid and you said, I'm really proud of you. You are my kid, every time they did something good. And then every time they did something bad, you were like, I don't know whose kid you are. What's your kid gonna think? What lesson do they take? And again, I'm not putting this on you, Scott. I'm not putting it on me. I'm talking about America as a whole. As a country, we have a tendency. I don't know. I've seen a lot of T-shirts that say "back-to-back World War champs." United States. We won both World Wars, and you can make that argument, but only by downplaying the participation of every other country that fought it. Only by ignoring the fact that alone of every country involved in both conflicts, we never faced the crumbling infrastructure or the occupation of enemy forces. We hugely benefited from both those wars, because we were way over here. We fought in them, we lent a hand, but we didn't win them alone. So if we're going to take responsibility for the good things, I think, then we also need to be willing to take responsibility for the bad things. We weren't there for either. And if you don't want to take responsibility for the bad things, then I think we need to honestly stop taking responsibility for the ones we want to include ourselves in. And that's hard.
Yeah. I remember there was one time I actually was in a debate with somebody. Like, you and I are having a good conversation. I remember I got in a real debate, and it was a slavery debate, and it was one of these woke white liberals, and he was, we are bad. We enslaved people. We did.
Bruh.
Yeah. And I said, we didn't do anything, and on. And I said, okay, who voted against abolishing slavery? It was the Democrats. And his answer was, he goes, I'll never forget this. He goes, that was over 200 years ago. Get over it. And I go, so was slavery. Get over it.
That's exactly what I'm saying, though.
Exactly. And, that's why it reminded me of that when you said that. It's like you can't have it both ways.
Liberals. I think liberals are, they lack the courage of their convictions. I don't like them. I don't like libs. I think they say one thing and then they do another. And ultimately, like I told Kurt, a lot of people talk about having a third party in this country. Personally, I'd be happy if we had a second, because I don't see a difference. The rhetoric's different, but the policies, you do just the smallest amount of digging. If Joe Biden and his policies towards prisons and crime and punishment, if they were coming from a Republican, the GOP would tout them as wonderful. But they come from Democrats, so they won't. And that, again, that goes both ways. It goes both ways. The Republicans don't like it because the Democrats do, and the Democrats don't like it because the Republicans do. And they make a big stink and a big fuss while lining their pockets with corporate money and not doing anything to materially help the men and women of this country. We have been sold out, and I'm all for changing that by whatever means necessary.
Yeah, we barely scratched the surface. I feel like I could, because there's so many more topics I want to go over, but I unfortunately I'm out of time. I do have to go. There's fireworks going off.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks to Curtis. He's the one who set this up. It was a pleasure meeting you. It was definitely a pleasure speaking to you. And hopefully, if anything, I know there was probably a couple points, in fact, I saw some of the comments. I know, there was disagreements, but the main point I want to get out of this is that agree, disagree, agree, we can do it civilly.
Sure.
We can have a discussion,
And,
we can part ways and say, hey, it was nice chatting.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Thank you so much, Tim. It was very nice to meet you.
Thank you, Scott. You have a good night, man.
You too. Let's do this again sometime. Have a good night.
Just let me know.
All right, buddy. Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye.